Welcome, everyone, to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today. Let's kick things off with a pretty simple question. Do you feel like you rely maybe just a little too heavily on the word happy? Think about it for a second. We use it for literally everything. You find a random dollar on the sidewalk, you're happy. You eat a decent sandwich for lunch, you're happy. You win the mega lottery, you're happy. But human emotion is so much bigger and way more specific than just that one single word. So our main goal today is to expand your emotional vocabulary and give you the exact words you need to describe how you are really feeling.
Okay, let's take a quick look at our agenda for today. We're going to start with the happiness spectrum itself and then climb through mild, moderate, and extreme levels of happiness. After that, we'll learn some colorful idioms, and finally, we'll wrap up by sharing your own stories.
All right, diving right into section 1, the happiness spectrum.
You know, when we talk about happiness, we're actually exploring a really diverse spectrum of human emotion. It helps to think of it kind of like a staircase, or maybe an emotional thermometer. We have 3 distinct levels of intensity that we're going to climb together today. Step 1 is mild, Step 2 is moderate, and Step 3 is extreme. By organizing our vocabulary into these 3 tiers, it makes it so much easier to pinpoint the absolute perfect word for whatever situation you find yourself in.
Moving right along to section 2, mild happiness, which is all about feeling calm and content.
I want you to really picture this for a second. Imagine you just finished your absolute last piece of homework on a Friday afternoon. You toss your backpack to the side, you sink into the couch, and everything just feels right. There are no grand celebrations here, no fireworks, no one jumping up and down cheering. It's just a quiet, peaceful Friday afternoon with absolutely zero homework hanging over your head for the weekend. We've all been there, right? It's a truly fantastic feeling. Now, what's super interesting about this baseline level is how heavily it's rooted in just a simple feeling of satisfaction. It's a very quiet, peaceful kind of happiness. It's definitely not loud or highly energetic. You don't desperately want or need anything more at that particular moment. You're simply existing in a state of good. So, how do we actually describe this? Let's get into the specific vocabulary. First up, we have content. If you're content, you're just satisfied with what you have. You're not yearning for anything else. Next is serene. I love this word. It perfectly captures that Friday afternoon feeling because it literally means calm, peaceful, and entirely untroubled by worry. And finally, cheerful. This is when you're showing noticeably bright, pleasant behavior. You know, maybe you're humming a little tune or just smiling softly to yourself. These 3 words are your absolute go-to choices for baseline mild happiness.
All right, turning the dial up to section 3, moderate happiness, focusing on joy and high spirits.
When something specifically good happens to us, our emotional thermometer naturally ticks upward. Let's look at another scenario. Imagine you just found out you scored an A on a really brutal project that you spent days working on. Or maybe your favorite sports team just won a nail-biter of a weekend game. This brings a much higher energy level to your body. You're visibly excited, you're probably grinning from ear to ear, and you might even let out a quick cheer or throw up a high five.
We define this middle tier as moderate happiness. This is your everyday joy. It's the happiness we visibly express when we get some great news or experience a solid win. It comes with way higher energy than our mild level. You aren't just calmly sitting on the couch anymore, you're actively, physically reacting to something positive in your environment.
Let's walk through 3 excellent words for this level. First is joyful, which simply means feeling or causing great pleasure. Then we've got delighted. You'd use delighted when you're highly pleased about specific good news, like, say, hearing your grandparents are coming to visit. Finally, we have elated. This one brilliantly illustrates the feeling of a major victory. When you're elated, you aren't just happy, you're extremely proud and happy, usually right after pulling off a significant success. Now let's crank that thermometer all the way to the top. Section 4, extreme happiness and overwhelming emotion. Let's set the final scene. Imagine you just passed an impossible math exam. And I don't mean just any exam, I mean the one you studied weeks for, the one you were absolutely terrified you were going to fail. When you finally see that passing grade, the relief and joy just hit you like a massive wave. It's a monumental achievement. You might actually cry tears of joy, or genuinely feel like your feet aren't even touching the floor. You just feel like you're floating. We define this peak level as extreme happiness. The big takeaway here is that happiness can actually be so intensely strong that it becomes physically overwhelming. Your brain is processing so much positive emotion all at once that you literally cannot contain it. And that results in crying, shouting, or that famous feeling of absolute weightlessness. So, what are the top tier words for this peak experience? First up is ecstatic. This is an intense, overpowering excitement where you simply cannot contain your feelings. Next is blissful, which refers to complete, absolute happiness. It's often associated with a sense of perfect, almost spiritual joy. And finally, euphoric. Euphoric perfectly captures that intense, almost floating feeling of well-being, particularly right after a massive relief or a monumental achievement. If you just survived that impossible math test, euphoric is definitely your word.
Moving right into Section 5, English idioms for happiness.
Moving beyond just single words, the English language absolutely loves to use figurative language to paint a vibrant picture of our emotions. I highly recommend grabbing your notebooks and jotting these down as some really colorful alternatives to the word happy. First, to be on cloud nine means to be extremely happy. That's right up there in our extreme tier. Next, over the moon. If you are over the moon, you are delighted and absolutely thrilled about something. And finally, in high spirits. This means you're lively, cheerful, and full of positive energy, which fits perfectly right into our moderate tier. Let's look at how this works in action. Check out this great example quote. When she saw she finally passed that impossible math test, she was absolutely on cloud nine. Notice how using the idiom on cloud nine, instead of just saying she was very happy, instantly injects the sentence with so much more energy. It paints a picture of her floating high above the ground, and it just makes your storytelling so much more engaging. All right, bringing it all home with Section 6, share your happiness story. So, we have successfully mapped out this entire emotional thermometer today, from the mild, relaxing Friday afternoon all the way up to the extreme euphoria of passing a major test. Now, it's your turn. Think of a time you were truly ecstatic or euphoric. What specifically happened to cause that overwhelming emotion, and how did it feel compared to the other levels on our thermometer? Take a moment, get your stories ready, and let's start sharing.